Once upon a time, there were three little pigs living in the forest. They heard rumors about a big evil wolf lurking around, so they decided to build homes for protection. The little pigs built their houses with different materials. Their first one made its house out of straw, the second one using sticks, and Sherlock, the last one, started building his home using bricks. But he couldn't just stop there. He took his time and continued adding materials and decor to his beautiful great palace. You know the whole story. Oh, and what about the big evil wolf? He was just a myth.
Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
Hi, I'm Carol from Ulua, and I'm sure that you know these stories about the three little pigs and also about Sherlock Holmes, who was a famous detective created by Conan Doyle. And I wanted to create a metaphor for us to talk about this topic today. So, as you know, Sherlock had a beautiful mind where he created a mind palace, as he called it, a place where he would go to deduce from previous knowledge that he had and experiences from the past. He created the solutions to a case that it was generally apparently impossible to solve at first. At least the cops couldn't get the solution, so they called Sherlock. And this is the kind of place I want to talk about, this mind palace. Because that place in your mind could be a shack, a house, or a cottage, or a palace. So I want to make a little parenthesis here because I don't mean exactly the method that Sherlock used, which is called the Loci or Locus method. It's LOCI, which is used for memory enhancement. And I'm not talking about that. I mean about your own process of thought. So I'm going a little farther there, a little more meta, if you wish. You may or may not know that there are different theories of mind. There are so many. And these theories or these fields of study are based on, for example, they are like neuropsychology, cognitive psychology, gestalt, anthropology, sociology. So there are many ways that you can study how our mind works, collectively or individually, and from different perspectives. Also, artificial intelligence has been studying our mind for decades now, almost a century, because they want to know how it works so they can replicate it in machines. So I think we still don't know exactly how our minds work. We just use them. So I'm not sure if we will be able to fully understand them, at least not in the short time, I think. And because all these studies and the development of the theories are based on premises, on a fixed set of principles, actually the correct term to use is axiom. Axiom is an indisputable truth. So even if it is that truth, the universal truth, is a convention on which everything else in theory or in the theory we are talking about is based upon. So these axioms or these premises, these principles are indisputable. So we are starting by talking about things we already don't know how they happen. We just assume those are the truths. And from there is that we are starting to think or study how the mind works. Some theories focus on biology, others on data processing, others on culture, others on relationships and There are so many. So, as I said before, I don't know, because our mind is so complex that covers so many possibilities, so many variables. It may be difficult to find an approach that covers all those possibilities. But don't fall into despair, because what I do know is that you can learn how to use your own mind. Even if we don't know exactly how universally how minds work, we can know how to use our own, because we are living with our own minds. So, coming a little back to this metaphor that we used before about the three little pigs and Sherlock, I have more questions in this episode than answers, and I want to share with you because I think it's important to start building together a vocabulary to understand how we think and how our minds operate inside of us, inside of our brains, or wherever they are located in our bodies, or maybe outside of our bodies, we don't know. So, some of the questions that come to mind, I will continue sharing during this episode, but some that I have present right now are: do you have a place where you go to think in your mind? Is this place a home, a shack, a cottage, or is it a mind palace? And how is that space in your mind? How does it work? Is it dark inside? Is it huge? Is it tiny? Do you have many rooms? Do you have some windows? Do you have some gardens, maybe? I don't know. That's interesting to start thinking about that. And another thing is, do you know about your own thought process? Those are the questions I've been asking myself, and I'm just sharing with you in this episode. So, have you ever considered that you can have a beautiful mind too? I mean, too, as in Sherlock, not me. Or that you can actually modify your mind to have this beautiful mind, or this mind palace. I've been thinking, and I found really amazing how we human beings have our own minds, and how we can shape them, and sometimes how they get shaped for us. I'm not a psychologist, but I've been talking to some psychologists in the past, and they have shared with me some insights, some learnings that I think they are great. And I don't know if you are aware that until the age of 7, our minds are our whole selves. We are not fully developed as adults. So everything we absorb, or our minds absorb, comes from our surroundings, our environment. So, for example, it comes from our parents, our friends, the things we might be reading at that age. I don't know if you read, but from TV, from social media, from different things that can influence us. So we are not actually conscious about what's going on in our minds at the time. Or at least that's the theory. Maybe if you are a psychologist, can tell me what theory is that. There might be others, I don't know, but I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing with you what I already know. So, if we are never aware of, if we can never come into contact with, or we are never really conscious about how our mind has been shaped, or what are the things we want to introduce into our mind building, maybe it's a good time to start, because I think that no matter how early or late in your life you realize or start looking inside of your mind, there's still a chance that if you put the hard work into reshaping it, there's still a chance to modify your building or your home to your own liking. So maybe you are just as me wondering, are there any people that are really conscious about their state of mind, or their mind palace, or their mind cottage, or their mind shack? And I mean really, really conscious, because I am not talking here about religion or spirituality or anything like that. Not even mindfulness or meditation. No, nothing like that. I mean about if you know how your mind thinks, how you process your thinking, and how your thoughts come into you and how they shape even your behavior. I'm talking, yes, I'm going meta here, like in another level of abstraction. Do you know people like this? I personally do. I do know some, no more than a handful. I actually consider them to be wise. And they have started, as far as I know, they have started building their mind palaces, we could say, at an early age. Another thing to consider when trying to find this kind of people is that it takes time for you to know them and also to be able to create or co-create together a vocabulary to really understand each other. Because even if you speak the same language as the other person, sometimes it's different or it's difficult to find a common ground on how to base your communication or how to start understanding how the other person thinks. And it's easier, this process is easier if the other person knows about themselves, about their thinking. If they don't, it's so much more complex to do. I can say that it has taken me time and certain intimacy, and when I'm saying intimacy, it has nothing to do with sexual encounters and nothing like that. To get to know people, to get to know these friends, and to know them deeply, so you can try to share this kind of stuff. And also the other person has to be interested also in this kind of topic. So it's kind of difficult to find people that are actually interested in sharing this, about this, their thinking or how they think or what are their processes. So yeah, you have to build your own vocabulary with the other person, and it's difficult to do that when there are more than one people in the room. I mean, in the room when you are talking to people, right? The more people you have in a room or in a place together, the more difficult it will be to create this shared vocabulary. I think it can be done, but I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity yet. So if you have and want to share, just let me know. I'm dying of curiosity to know if there are some other people that have this level of communication with their friends or with some other people. I had never considered this topic until one of these wise people mentioned it. So I think that the more reach you have to wise people or to people that I call them wise, you can call them other names, maybe weird, I don't know. The more exposure you have to this kind of thoughts, the more you can understand about yourself. It was at that time when I started wondering how my mind had been built, what was inside of my mind's cottage, and how to take care of it, how to maintain it, how to get out the trash from time to time from my home. And I also tried to convince these people that I consider wise to come public, to share about the things, to start a podcast, but they didn't want to share. So I hope there are others that want to share some experiences. And actually that is why I started this podcast, because we are all the time busy and having urgencies, and we are so focused on the things we have to do, on productivity, getting money, I don't know, doing so many things that we forget about this abstract thinking or this useless thinking, you can say, just like art. Sometimes art seems so useless and so abstract, just a waste of time to the life we are leading right now, because we are all the time running. So yeah, this was one of the reasons why this podcast started, because I wanted to share these questions that I have. Maybe share some ideas that come to mind, or maybe you can share your ideas and see if there are more people that are willing to share them. So you may be thinking, such a weird, go read a book, find another way to understand how our minds work. And yeah, I have extensively. I have read a lot of books. I think it's time to process this kind of thinking in a collective way, in a different way, and get it out. But get it out, not like trash, just dump, just like dump everything into other people, but to get it out as a produce, even if it is kind of a rawish produce, if it's raw, but it's better than just trash. And maybe that's what I'm doing, so I don't know. I'm just rambling about the things I want to share with you. I think this collective sharing is important at this time, especially because you will have to build individually your home because your mind is inside of you somewhere and nobody else can do it for you. But yes, you can understand how other people are doing, and maybe that can help you understand better your situation, or you can come to create this common vocabulary that I was talking about to create our own mind palaces. As I also said, I don't think there is enough time, at least for me, to measure any career related to thinking because I should study biology, psychology, medicine, neurology, philosophy, anthropology, I don't know, so many things, and all the derivations that come from those careers. So I think it's physically impossible. And because I've been to university and I also know that university you only learn about certain topics that are in the curricula, but that you will have to go out of the university and study other things that are actually relevant to the career of the job you want to do. So you have to keep on studying anyways. Having a career in all of these topics, I don't think it will help in the long run. And I think it's better to start sharing, as I said, and collaborating each other between different careers or professions. So you can say that I'm trying to find the shortcut to the long way, and maybe that's true. And at the same time, I think it's just ineffective to study a career, as I was saying, or every career that you'd like to have knowledge about. So, and also I think it's ineffective to read every book ever written about these topics. So maybe it's easier to start sharing with people how they think. Anyways, I'm going a little apart from the topic right now. We were talking about how our minds work, and also this metaphor that we started about the three little pigs and Sherlock. And I think that kind of, as they are well known, I think they kind of give us a common shared ground to start building these ideas, right? Or at least that's what I think. Maybe you have a better metaphor to talk about, so please share about that. Now, with these metaphors, I would like to talk about, for example, about the materials. We said that the three little pigs created their homes with the first one with straw, which was unstable. It was a shack. That could be blown by the big wolf. And according to the story, it got blown off by the wolf. So the pig couldn't stay there anymore. And I translating it to what we were talking. I think this straw shack that the little pig built was unstable, as I said, and this material wasn't. Maybe it was what he had at hand at the time. This was flexible, but also permeable, so it didn't stand on itself. And we could say that the piggy was influenced by the wolf. We will talk about the wolf later. So we could say that this pig was influenced by other people's thinking, other people's thoughts, other people's ideas. So he couldn't stand on his own. What about the materials we are using for building our minds? That's a very important question to be asking yourself about. And another thing that I mentioned briefly was this flexibility or this instability of the home, the first piggy, because it was made of straw. But what about Sherlock's mind palace? It was built starting with bricks, and then it became with also another materials, super sturdy mind palace. But I would argue if this sturdiness was too rigid, maybe. I don't know, I'm just asking questions, as I said. So maybe your home is too sturdy, too rigid. Maybe you are creating a rigid way of thinking. Yes, it is super solid, but at the same time, it's too solid that maybe it doesn't let other thoughts come in. I don't know. One of the most important things that come into mind right now is that maybe you already have a mind palace, but if you just let junk accumulate inside of your mind palace, a mind palace full of shit might not be useful for your purposes. So that's another thing to consider. Your own mental cleaning process. How frequently are you cleaning your mind? Are you letting things or this big wolf, are you letting him dump trash on in your own home? Those are things I think are elemental to be considering. What do you think? I really love to know. Oh, I said we were going to talk about the big evil wolf. He's actually not a myth. I just made that as a joke when I was telling the story, but he's not a myth. He's everything that comes against your purpose of creating your mind palace. He manifests himself as distractions, junk information, I don't know, anything that's getting into you that's actually not helping you to have this beautiful mind or the beautiful mind palace, which is also pristine and where you can actually learn and have your thoughts organized. I'm making another parenthesis here because I know some little chaos inside your mind can help you be more creative. So I'm not saying your mind palace has to be absolutely pristine. Maybe you can have a playground inside of it where you can have some kind of mess to play and to be creative. So I wanted to say that. And coming back to the wolf, what other things are distracting you from thinking about thinking? I don't know. You tell me. So just to make a quick close here, I believe these metaphors can help us go on with the following episodes, maybe not the next one, but maybe in other episodes to talk about these processes. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but we are to focus on the concrete, on the things right now we have to solve, and we are so busy that we forget about these abstractions that are also important in our lives. But yeah, we will talk about that later. I really liked for you to leave this episode with these questions in mind, so you can start building for yourself, and you can start, if you wish, of course. Maybe you are super happy with just having a shack in your mind or just a cottage, and you say, okay, here is where I'm comfortable with at the time, and maybe in a few years you will want to build more rooms in your mind home. So yeah, I want you to keep these questions in mind because I think those are the things that will keep move forward, understand ourselves more. If you came up to here with me, thank you so much, because I know it's kind of a super abstract topic or theme to talk about. Having said that, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and see you next time. Bye. Have fun. Go on time. Once upon a time, pam 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 pam.
Stay tuned for Uluwa's next episode.